This is the last part of our unit, guys, where we're talking about inequalities, solving it with two-step inequalities. You've already solved two-step equations before. All it is the same exact identical setup. Solving an inequality, like I said before, is no different than solving an equation. Just a couple of things that you need to make sure that you remember when we're doing the inequalities. First thing that you need to remember, if x is not on the left side, what do we have to do? Rewrite. Yeah, you just have to rewrite. That's right. If x is not on the left side, that's when we do the rewrite. So you always check first before you start solving, is x on the left side of the inequality? If it's not, rewrite it so that way you have it on the left side first. That's always going to be the first thing you're going to check. Second thing was a new rule that we learned. If you are going to multiply or divide by negative, what happens? Keep going. Flip the what? Not the equation, not the whole thing. You're only flipping the what? The symbol. Only the symbol. Only the inequality symbol is just going to flip. You're flipping just the inequality. Not the whole statement. It's just the inequality symbol that you're going to flip. Yep, that's what people get confused about. So again, remember guys, it's easy. If you're looking at the problem and you have a coefficient or you have a divisor that's negative, then you know you're going to have to flip the inequality statement or symbol. If you're looking at it and it's a negative 2x, you're going to have to flip it at the end. If it's x divided by a negative 2, you're going to have to flip it at the end because it's going to cause you to have to multiply or divide by that negative on both sides in order to get x by itself. So you need to make sure that you're doing that you're following that rule, okay? That rule is the thing that messes people up the most. It's not the solving. You guys have the solving down already. You know how to solve because you've been doing it for almost 2 months now. So you know how to solve. It's just the sign that throws you off sometimes. So now bear with me. I know we're talking about inequalities, but I'm actually going to give you an equation. So if I say 6x plus 14 is equal to 20. Y'all know how to do this. What's the first inverse operation that we have to perform here? Brian? Subtraction. The first inverse operation that we have to do is to subtract, and we're going to subtract 14 from both sides. Okay, so these 14s would wind up getting canceled out. They are 0 pairs. That leaves us with 6x is now equal to 6. From here, you know what the next inverse operation is. Julie and David? Division. So we're going to divide by a positive 6. We're going to divide both sides by a positive 6. And we would get x is equal to 1. So you know how to solve an equation, and guess what? You just solved an inequality as well. Because I'm going to go ahead and change the equal sign to a greater than or equal to. Just by adding that little tiny diagonal to connect the top, I've now made it a greater than or equal to sign. Oh, and look at that. It's still the same process. So the fact that you know how to solve an equation means you know how to solve inequalities too. The only question that you have to ask yourself is, before I start, do I need to rewrite? And when I'm doing multiplication or division, do I need to flip or keep? So in this sense, did we keep or flip? We keep. We kept it. We're going to keep because of the fact that it's a positive that we're dividing by. So we're going to keep. So I'm going to even make that a note here. I'm going to keep my inequality the same. Now, again, because some of you are still iffy on that graphing, Bryant, when I'm graphing this, based off of the inequality symbol, is it an open or closed circle? I picked you because you're the one who keeps asking me. That's why. Remember, when it's got the line underneath it, it means that it's what? Closed. It is a closed circle. The direction the arrow is pointing is to the what? To the right. So that means when I'm graphing it, Bryant, when I'm graphing it, wherever my 1 is, so if I do a 0, a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, it doesn't matter. Wherever I see the 1, above it has to be a closed or filled in circle, and it's going to be shaded or drawn to the right. That's how we graph them, okay? So there's our inequality. I'm not going to graph every single problem, guys. I am going to continue to ask open or closed, left or right, though, so that way you get the idea of it. All right, number 2. Negative 20 is greater than negative 2x plus 4. What did I say was the first thing we're always going to ask ourselves? Do we need to rewrite? Do we need to rewrite? Yes. Yes, we do need to rewrite. So I'm going to write off to the side, hey, I'm doing a rewrite. That means my left side is going to go to the right. My right side is going to go to the left. And my inequality is now going to change. This becomes a less than sign. So I now have negative 2x plus 4 is less than negative 20. And that's my inequality. Now we just start solving it. What's the first inverse operation that I'm going to need to do, Julian? Subtraction. So we're going to go ahead, bless you, we're going to go ahead and subtract 4 from both sides. These 4s will go ahead and get canceled out. And we're left with negative 2x is less than negative 24. You're going to check it with your calculator. From there, what's our next operation that we have to do? Jasmine, division. What are we going to divide by? Not just 2, negative 2. We're going to divide by a negative 2. Keep or flip? Flip it. It's that negative. Remember, what was the rule up at the top? Second rule, if you multiply or divide by a negative, you flip the inequality. So because it's a negative 2, we are dividing both sides by that negative 2. We're going to flip our inequality. The previous problem, we did division as well, but we divided by a positive 6. So that meant we got to keep it. But because we're dividing by a negative now, we're going to have to flip the inequality to a greater than sign. X will now be isolated. And what's negative 24 divided by negative 2? 12. Good. Open or closed? Open, right? There's no line underneath it, so it's open. Left or right? To the right. It's pointing to the right. You guys got to learn your directions. It's pointing to the right. It's eating to the left, but it's pointing to the right. Think of it as an arrow, not a mouth anymore, okay? Huh? No? Sure. You guys want to do this one on your own? Yes. Guys, every one of you has a calculator inside your desk. Make sure you get your calculator out, okay? When we're talking about the sides, we're talking about this is the wall. Kind of like the equal sign was the wall. So is it on the left side of the inequality or on the right side? That's what we're talking about. Okay? All right, let's go over it. Do we need to rewrite? No. X is on the left of the inequality. We do not need to do a rewrite. What's the first inverse operation? Addition. Good. And what are we going to add? Just 13. If I do negative 13 plus negative 13, that's going to give me negative 26. It's not going to change it. You're just adding 13 to both sides. Just adding 13 to both sides. Now, that minus sign that's in front of the x, what does that now become? A negative, right? That now becomes a negative, and somebody just said it. They said a negative 1. It becomes a negative 1. Because we know that if there's not a number there, there's automatically a 1 in front of it. What's the inverse operation to do here? Not addition. Division. Division. We're going to divide by negative 1 on both sides. Now, if I divide by a negative, am I going to keep or flip? Flip it. We're going to flip that inequality. So instead of it being a less than or equal to, it's now going to become a greater than or equal to. It's going to become a greater than or equal to. So this is now x is greater than or equal to negative 24 because we're dividing both sides by negative 1. We're flipping because we divided by a negative. Okay, and this is, of course, a closed and to the right graph. Closed and to the right. Geez, I'm making all of mine to the right, aren't I, today? Okay, let's go ahead and flip to the next page. We'll do one more example. Try this one on your own. This is the next page. Page 73. 73. Guys, shh, we were on 72 previously, now we're on 73. Oh, I'm so sorry, 72. I'm sorry, I'm looking at my other classes page. Yes, it's a lot to keep up. Shh. All right, work on that one. Yes. It does matter. You're doing it in the wrong order, right? What did you rewrite first? Did you rewrite it? No, you gotta rewrite it first, then start solving, huh? As soon as we're done with notes, you may. Huh? As soon as we're done with notes. Okay. Shh, quiet. But honey, mine's a negative 13, not 12. Oh, okay. All right, what's the first thing we need to do? First thing to do, Joel. Well, not flip, but rewrite. Flip is different than rewrite, guys. Rewrite, the whole thing changes. Flip, it's just the inequality that changes. So we're doing a rewrite. We've got x over negative 13 plus 3 is greater than or equal to 4. So we rewrote it. Now it's in the correct order. What's the first inverse operation that we need to do here, AJ? Subtract 3. Good. So we're going to subtract 3 from 3 and subtract 3 from the 4. That's going to leave us with x over negative 13 is greater than or equal to 1. What's the next step? EJ. Multiply by negative 13. Multiply negative 13. Since we're multiplying by a negative, do we keep or flip? Flip. Multiplying by that negative means we need to flip the inequality. So the inequality becomes less than or equal to. Multiplying both sides by negative 13. And we're going to get that x is less than or equal to negative 13. Open or closed? Left or right? Good. All right, so what you guys are going to be doing today, God bless you. Sounds like a Michael Jackson sneeze. I half expected you to go hee-hee at the end. All right. What you're going to do, you have Prodigy game. Your Prodigy game is 15 questions, and yes, it does count as a grade before you ask. Take your time because it's going to have some words that you're translating it into the expression or the equation first and then solving it. So it's got some multiple parts. Some of it's drop down windows, some of it's fill in. So you need to make sure you're taking your time with that. Then you also have your IXL. Some of you have not finished your IXL still. I'm giving you a little bit more time. So today's brand new IXL is T.6. And don't forget this is in 7th grade. T.6, which is labeled Solve Two-Step Inequalities. So let me talk about that. You need to have a SMART score of an 80. SMART score of an 80. That's what's required. So you were assigned T1, T2, and T3. Those needed a 70% for SMART score. Shh. Hold on, please. You were assigned a T4. That was supposed to have an 80% completion. Now you've got a T6 with an 80% completion. I'm going to combine all of it together. If you would like to do T5 and T7, those will be extra credit. If you want to do T5 and T7, those will be for extra credit, and they will be a SMART score of a 70. If you would like to do them for extra credit, it is a SMART score of a 70. That's perfectly fine. All of this is to be finished by Wednesday. Wednesday is going to be the final cutoff. Then I'm plugging all of this in as one giant grade. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.